So is it better to script or outline your talk as a speaker? What's the right way for you to approach building your next talk? Let's get started. Well, my name is Jon Cook. I'm the founder of Keynote Content, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with close to 900 speakers one-on-one, helping them craft and share their messages from stage. Whether it's for podcasts, summits, seminars, workshops, breakout sessions, keynote sessions, luncheons, any type of talk content you can think of, I've helped speakers put together those talks. And what I've found working with that many speakers is that there tends to be a bit of a bell curve. And on that bell curve, on this far side here, is what I call the scripters. They script everything, word for word, and then they memorize those scripts and they practice them over and over and over again, and then they don't deviate once they get in that talk opportunity. They might say one or two words that might not be on the script, but they stick so tightly to it. That's about 10% of speakers I work with are scripters. On this other side, about 30%, kind of arbitrarily, this 30% is what I call kind of the outliners. And the outliners, they say, give me a couple bullet points, give me maybe a couple stories, or maybe I know my intro, my 3 points, my closer, I'm good to go. Whether it's 10 minutes, 60 minutes, I'll fill the time. It's very much a looser format than scripting. They're okay just going with the flow. In that middle, in that glorious middle, is what I call your hybrids. Your hybrids, about 60%, kind of arbitrarily about 60% of speakers do some scripting and some outlining for how they build their talks. And you might be looking at this and saying, oh, now that you've laid it out, John, I can see I'm more of a scripter. Okay, that's great. You might say, oh, I'm more of an outliner. That's great too. You might say, okay, I know I'm in a hybrid, but you might also be sitting there saying, I'm not sure, I think I'm this, but I haven't really tried this. I don't know what's the best way for me to build my talk as a speaker. Well, I want to give you 3 different points to help you really understand, here's the best way to find out if scripting, outlining, or hybrid is the right way for you to build your next talk. The first thing I recommend is that you know the risks and rewards of each type of format. For scripting, the reward is that it gives you a chance to really develop your talk more so you can understand, here is the exact point I want to make. Is this as clear as I want it to be with this part of my script? If you're going with just an outline, it doesn't necessarily give you the opportunity to say, is this landing exactly how I want, as clearly as I want with my audience, or do I need to develop it more? Another benefit of scripting is that it gives you a fairly predictable time frame. Okay, if you're giving your talk at a certain words per minute, about 140, 145 words per minute, typical for the average speaker, public speaker, about 140, 145 words per minute. It lets you know, okay, if your script is X number of words divided by 140, saying it's probably going to land at the X number of minutes as far as delivering your talk. Now, there are some risks, of course, with scripting, is that sometimes it can even feel scripted, especially if you don't practice enough. If you're not as familiar with your content, it can feel scripted, it can feel forced, it may not land as much because it feels like you're just delivering content and not really in the moment actually giving a talk, connecting with your audience. Now, another risk that you run into with scripting is that it gives you a fairly set format. So what happens if tech goes screwy? Or maybe you say, well, we were told it was going to be 25 minutes. Cool, 25-minute talk, but actually you have 15 minutes. So where do you cut 10 minutes from your script for your talk? It puts you in a bit of a conundrum there. So those are some risks and rewards on the scripting side of things. Now, don't think that outlining doesn't have its own risks and rewards. It does. On the outline side of things, the reward is that it's a more flexible format. Saying, okay, I can give this talk, whether it's a 5-minute format or whether it's a 55-minute format, you can be able to expand and contract your content saying, it's the same intro, 3 points, and the closer. I know exactly what that format's going to be. I'm pretty well able to deliver this talk at any type of size of time frame. Now, of course, there are some risks involved with this. It gives you also the trap of saying, okay, I maybe didn't develop my content as much as I wanted to, so when I go to deliver that talk, it feels like I haven't really thought it out well, and maybe I'm missing some points, or it doesn't clearly connect at point 1 to point 2 to point 3, and your audience might be left thinking, I think I got the idea, but it wasn't exactly clear to me. So in your situation, saying, okay, outline, yes, some reward, flexibility. Yes, the chance to be able to just be natural up there, not feeling like you have to stick to a script. You can just deliver the talk, and it feels like you're really giving that experience. The risk, of course, is saying it may not feel like it's fully developed. You might say, okay, well, I know the risks and rewards of both scripting and outlining. Hybrid is the safe bet, and it usually is the safe bet. Knowing, okay, you have your intro, you have maybe a couple points you want to make, usually 3-4 points you want to make in your talk, and then a closer, or how you know you want to close. A lot of people in the hybrid space say, okay, I'm going to script my opening, and I'll script my close. Or they'll say, I'm just going to script my close, and maybe I'll script 1 or 2 key sentences I want to say inside each of my key points in my talk. And the intro is just the same story I tell over and over again. I don't need to script it. I know that story. The hybrid, there are some amazing rewards with that because you get some of the structure and the development of scripting, but you also get some of the flexibility of format of the outline side of things. But there are also some risks. One of the traps I consistently see speakers get into is when they try to do some script and outline hybrid is that they believe, oh, I only need to script this much of my talk and I am going to outline the rest of this talk. And really, it would have been better, been more effective and clearer for your talk content if you scripted maybe a little bit more and outlined a little bit less, and so you can develop a little bit more. Now, as you look at each of these versions, you can say, okay, how do I know which one's the right one for me? Is that I recommend, now that you know the risks and rewards, test drive. If you want to develop, okay, think about a topic that's inside your niche, I'm not sure how you say it. Just whether it's niche or niche, just don't be a Dutch bag how you talk about it. Okay, so test drive 3 topics. Develop a 5-minute talk on maybe the same topic or closely connected topics inside your industry, inside your niche, and then develop a 5-minute talk by scripting it, writing it all out word for word, and then develop another one where it's like, okay, I'm going to give a 5-minute talk, I'm just going to outline it, okay? And then the third one is saying, I'm going to give a third talk that is some scripting and some outlining. They're not the same talk, but maybe similarly connected topics. And from there, you can find out what's the experience like for you. Now that you have test-driven 3 different talks, 1 in each of the different format styles, you can find out, okay, I like the scripting, or I like the outline, or I like the hybrid, and find out what works for you. How does it feel? And show those talks maybe to your business partner, to your life partner, to your best friend, and say, which of these talks connect with you most from just an overall feel standpoint. And they'll give you, hopefully, an honest opinion, and you can say, hey, this is the one that maybe you say, I'm a scripter, but they say the one that really connected with them is actually the outline. Or maybe saying, I did a hybrid, but man, I thought that the script one was more powerful, or the outline, or whatever it might be. So let them give their feedback, and don't tell them which talk is which structure format, how you built that talk. Let them give them their honest feedback to you, and then adjust your expectations for building your next talk, saying, okay, I'm going to try it this way, and keep test driving it. You also have the flexibility and you have the freedom to change your format moving forward into the future. You might be saying, I've scripted for years. And then you switch to outline and you say, I feel more connected to my audience. Great, do what works for you. Now, the third point that I want you to keep in mind when it comes to developing your talk content is that the familiarity with your talk content matters far more than the format that you use to build your talk content. Whether you're a scripter, an outliner, a hybrid, whatever it might be familiar with the actual content that you're giving, because when you are familiar with the content, you're able to deliver that in a way that's powerful, that changes lives, that helps connect with people where they are and help them take the next meaningful step. It doesn't matter what format you used. Scripting, hybrid, outline, it doesn't matter what format you used as long as you are familiar with your content and find out what works for you, where you're comfortable with your content in front of the people that you know you can change their lives. So whatever you decide, whatever format you decide to use for your talk, focus on changing lives with your message, because you do have a life-changing message. You do have what it takes to be able to speak into somebody's future and say, here's how I can help you take an amazing next step for a better tomorrow. Well, hopefully you love what I shared so far today. Go ahead and subscribe if you love what you've seen. And if you're a speaker saying, I want to get booked on more podcasts, that's a great way for you to build your speaking business, is by getting booked on more podcasts. But how do you find podcast opportunities? Go ahead and watch this next video and I'll show you here's the best way to get booked on more podcasts. We'll see you there.